James O'Keefe is on paid leave from Project Veritas. This is how they started off. Just complete cover story. James O'Keefe, the founder and chairman of Project Veritas, has taken paid leave from the conservative nonprofit media organization as its board considers whether to remove him from his leadership position. Now, him being mean to employees, I think one of the stories was he took a pregnant woman's sandwich. He put someone up to a lie detector test. Like, they wouldn't get rid of him at his own company over something like that. O'Keefe is his organization's guiding ideological force and on screen face, but his status as his day to day manager has become uncertain amid reports of internal turmoil. Um, and then there's also the quote federal investigation into his conduct in purchasing the diary stolen from Ashley Biden. Nothing will come of that. He'll be protected for that. Because what this really comes down to, from listening to Mike Gill speak about this and just digging into it myself, this is coming down to blackmail. And James O'Keefe, for better or worse, has a lot of blackmail on a lot of people. And he used, if you guys remember the Panama Papers, he used a lot of information that he found out from that to blackmail others. And it just gets deeper and deeper as you go. If you guys know anything about New Hampshire, they're probably one of the leading places in the country going through a fentanyl crisis. So this gets into drug trafficking. This gets into like Epstein level trafficking type stuff. So where do I want to start? First, let me just show you Mike Gill's Twitter page, just so you guys can give him a follow. And I'll link I'll link after the stream in the description his video testimony and his Twitter page so you can follow him. And I'll be interviewing him on Tuesday at 5 p.m. This is his old page. So his old page, he was even talking about this. The largest seizure in fentanyl history, Ground Zero, DEA, New Hampshire. The most overdoses, New Hampshire. The money laundering, Pandora Papers, New Hampshire. The largest cartel in New Hampshire. It's a duck, and he gets into some other stuff. But he does have a new Twitter account now, and I don't think he trusts Twitter really at all. So I'm glad he's posting some stuff on here. Shout out to STT. I'm not going to say your real name, but you can say in the chat if it's you. They sent in a $15 Cash App donation. Thank you for covering this. Not many people are. No problem. So he wrote the other day, this was January 28th, so Project Veritas were on calls and meeting with this brave witness as they were on the meetings with a trucking company front for the cartel routes from Manchester, New Hampshire to Laredo, Texas. Machine guns to Laredo, fentanyl, and children's back. So here's him. I asked him where, the Boston area. Remember that tractor trailer of fentanyl, the largest seizure in history? I delivered that evidence to the DEA on camera. This was part of the evidence. So this guy has like tape, video recordings, tape recordings, emails. They tried to give this guy $50 million to keep his mouth shut. So they say no, it's being manufactured mostly. Only a small percentage comes from Elliott Pharmacy on the west side. So he says, where is it manufactured? Boston area, shipped to Muthen and Lawrence, then to Salem at the border where the bikers meet. Now you really gotta wrap your head around this guy coming out and saying all this stuff. Um, from what I could dig into, uh, he's been doing this for a long time. He's gathered this information for a long time. Oh, look at Tavistock, y'all. I gotta follow him so he can follow me back. When you lose your Twitter accounts, you lose all the people that were following you. So let me get this. Only recently I came across the saga of Mike Gill and his battle against corruption in New Hampshire. I was looking into the new casino that was approved, then temporarily stopped, going into the old grocery store, same building as the New Hampshire liquor store. Oh, thanks. And he even retweeted my stream out, so that was cool of him. The network of corruption roots are large controlling law firms. Their lawyers were made judges at all levels. They infiltrated the Attorney General's office, controlled prosecutions and judgments, covering for the banking department and money laundering, their client cartels, and human traffickers. So we're getting into fentanyl trafficking, human trafficking. This stuff, it just gets deeper and deeper. And people like Whitney Webb don't want to cover this. You know, people like, you got these quote unquote journalists like Glenn Greenwald and Whitney Webb and Jimmy Dore and all these people that conservatives look up to because they covered one conservative thing. You guys need to remember that parties don't matter. It's just strictly corruption from both sides. It's just one uniparty. And James O'Keefe and the people that he hangs around with claim to be libertarians. Now, why is New Hampshire so important? It's where they are trying to take over one of the kind of major cartel trafficking areas. And I'll pull up old articles showing you that they moved or they built a basically commune of 20,000 people. They brought down there 20,000 libertarians in an event basically of a coup to try to take over all areas of the government in New Hampshire. So it gets very, very deep. Shout out to 50 people in the chat. If anybody wants to share the stream, you can just share the link. You can tweet it. You can put it into a Discord. You can whisper it to a friend. You know, whatever you want to do. Alright, I'm going to get into some of the videos. Now, like I said, Brendan O'Connell made a video kind of responding to his testimony, and then I have the straight testimony video. And what I want to do in this stream is lay the groundwork of just what's going on, what he's talking about, and the claims he's making and the evidence he's putting forward. And then once we have that groundwork, because it's so much to put into one stream and connect it all in just one show, lay the groundwork and then have him come on personally and speak on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern. It'll work out perfect because you'll get it straight from him. And I bet there's been people asking him for interviews left and right. How I got one just by hitting him up and asking him, I don't know, but I definitely appreciate it. Alright, so give me 2 seconds to open these videos really quick. Alright. Good to see 50 people in the chat. appreciate the shout out. I was 38th. Do I get a participation trophy? I'll do my best. I'll do my best for you. All right. I'm gonna start with Brendan O'Connell's video, and we'll just kind of play it. We'll pause it. We'll talk about it a little bit, and then I can pull up some articles.
Who's the deep state?
So this is Mike Gill speaking. Now you need to know who Liberty is. Liberty banking and all this kind of stuff. It'll all get explained. And I'll share this one thing with you guys really quick right as we're getting into it, because this gets mentioned. Out-of-state influence on New Hampshire and Project Veritas. New Hampshire is being invaded by outside money and people representing ideologies that are alien to our citizens' values and disruptive to our quality of life. The Free State Project is recruiting 20,000 hardcore libertarians pledged to run for local and state office after moving to New Hampshire. Once here and supported by outside money, they will attempt to swing the government further to the right, reduce taxes in our state that already has a volunteer government and minimal taxation, and implement policies that support social Darwinism and all this other stuff. So they're literally trying to, or they have, but at this point in 2012 when they were doing this. So people think Veritas might go back 5 years. 2012 they were laying the groundwork of trying to take over in this in New Hampshire. And this is just one cartel. There's cartels all over, political cartels and trafficking cartels. And James O'Keefe isn't on paid time off because of that. And the last picture I saw him with, he was hanging out with a Kennedy out in the, quote, wilderness. So he's very well connected.
Well, it's twofold. It's a partnership. I believe corruption is the biggest industry and most profitable industry in this country. Ready? Have you ever seen so many politicians getting rich? Remember, Biden, the son's in Ukraine. Ukraine's the laundering center. Listen, I'm ass deep in Russians. I know, and I've told you this many times. That's why President Trump's over there. He's looking for their money. Why? To leverage them. And remember, I'm going to get back to that, but both sides are corrupt.
Okay, we're away, ladies and gentlemen. This is just a quick video for patrons. I just want to keep you updated. I have to take my time. I have to get my head around this Mike Gill. James O'Keefe did not resign clearly from Project Veritas because of people don't like him or he's mean.
Yeah, even I was saying, it's kind of wrapping your head around this kind of stuff. Even Brendan O'Connell was you kind of got to just hear him out and wrap your head around what he's saying, and then you can start digging and digging and digging and researching and confirming. But luckily I'm going to be able just to speak to him one-on-one, so that's going to be, I think, good for us, good for our audience.
And he took a sandwich away from an 8-month pregnant woman. Mike Gill did that interview on the 5th of Feb with those people who I'm not particularly impressed with, who claim the Jesuits run everything, and they're nuts. They're just...
And again, there was no love lost between me and Brendan O'Connell. I have no issue with him. He took issue up with me for some reason, but it's so long ago and it was so meaningless. This is way more important.
Just, they hate Catholics, which makes me wonder about their religion / ethnicity, whatever. But they're not the best. And I thought I swore. Those guys swear nonstop. They're bad. They're bad for Mike. I've mentioned it, just said, look, those guys are bad news. They need to tone it down. Ask them to tone it down because they're going to alienate a lot of people, and maybe that's the plan. But they're pieces of crap anyway, and I don't want anything to do with them. I've been chatting to him for 2 days solid on Twitter. I put him onto a few people, and hopefully I'll do an interview with him. We'll wait and see whether that transpires. But let me give you the quick rundown because it's so big. It's huge. Basically, he's uncovered a giant cartel. It's the Kay Griggs cartel. It's the retired military cartel. It's the Kissinger and Associates cartel. It's the Jared Kushner, Chabad Lubavitch, Russian-Israeli mafia cartel. And he's uncovered the one in New Hampshire. They run the airports, they run the state police, they run the FBI, they run the DEA. All of the officers are in there. And strangely, everyone around there is a libertarian. James O'Keefe libertarian, Roger Stone libertarian, that Aaron Day libertarian. Remember when they moved 20,000 libertarians had come to New Hampshire?
Remember that article I just showed you? Come to New Hampshire, the libertarian paradise, libertarian utopia.
It's a freaking drug trafficking operation. Luke Radowski, the libertarian, Tim Poole, well, I'm kind of a libertarian. They're up there in Virginia somewhere. You could really start connecting some dots here. But here's the money shot. Here's going to be 10 million.
Big network of people, guys. Big network of quote-unquote alt-media people. And they just all seem to be around the same area. All seem to share the same beliefs. All won't cover certain stories. All bury certain stories.
Minutes where Mike Gill is talking to Patrick Howley. Who's Patrick Howley? He worked at Breitbart, then he went to the Epoch Times. Well, that's Roger Stone's best buddy. You know Roger Stone's out of Rats in the Rank, linked in with growth hormone, bodybuilding, gay for pay, steroids, ecstasy, cocaine trafficking with his friends out of DC.
And this ties into Whitney Webb. This ties into all of their, what do you call them? What's the term for these? All of these groups? Tim Pool, Luke Radowski, Whitney Webb. They're all limited hangouts, which means they'll go to a certain extent. Like Whitney Webb will cover Epstein to a certain extent, but then you have to cut it off at a certain point if it goes against something that you're trying to cover up.
This network's so big, and here's the rough. They offered him $50 million in proof, in writing. Liberty insurer said, we'll give you $50 million. You've got to sign a release. It's all the lawyers, it's the IRS, it's the banks. I mean, if he's just a nut putting up, Bill Sheehan and Chris Sununu and all these people whose father worked for George Bush Sr., Chief of Staff. Yeah. So if he was a fake, they wouldn't be offering him $50 million and telling him to shut up. It's huge. It's the story of the decade. It's a story of the last 100 years. My God. It's a giant drug trafficking ring hooked in with political operators, the Republicrats. So it's Democrat-Republican, which is Republicrats. And instead of Donald Trump, and this is what worries me with this story, that this will feed in and benefit Ron DeSantis. That's why we got to link in Kissinger and Associates and the gang. The Goldman Sachs boys, because you can't do all of this without the assistance of the drug money launderers out of Goldman Sachs et al. You can't do it. Because I don't know Ronnie DeSantis of the COVID jab benefiting from this at all. But the fact remains, instead of going and exposing a giant drug trafficking ring with General Flynn and Sidney Powell, that piece of shit, two of them, Sidney Powell, I mean, seriously, dear God, fakes and frauds. So
this also ties into Millie Weaver. This ties into Tory and the Shadowgate documentary where they didn't want to say certain things. I mean, this really is a fucking huge story, guys.
Instead of putting it up and bringing down a giant drug trafficking ring and cleaning out the swamp, they used it for leverage. So Flynn and Bannon, Corey Lewandowski, Roger Stone, Donald Trump knew. Instead of going up and cleaning it out, they went up there and used it for leverage. And that's why Mike Pence was flying to meet Sununu, and they turned the plane around. And then Donald Trump comes out and says, oh, you'll find all about it in 2 weeks. And suddenly he says, oh, Sununu, you've been very mean to me. You hate me. You're one of the top 5 most popular governors, but you hate Donald Trump, the Don, man, you hate me. Well, then suddenly Sununu comes, oh, no, we love Donald Trump. Because they leveraged Mike Gill's info. They offer him $50 million. He refuses. My God, the man's a legend. I really identify with him. He's a badass, man. And I don't say that lightly. He is a badass. He refuses the $50 million. He's got all the documents, all the people wanting to sign on. It wasn't just individuals. It was banks, insurers, the IRS, it was incredible. But
because they've completely taken over in New Hampshire. So they have, from every single level of government, were able to offer this guy an insane amount of money to not release this documents and try to convince them to give them to them so they can use them as political leverage. And he makes a very good point about it's not about the billions and billions and billions of dollars that they embezzle. They can do that all day. It's where they have to put the money, where they have to hide the money. And that's where things like the Ukraine conflict comes in. Great way to launder money for them. Now, I do have the straight video of just Mike Gill, the testimony here. I believe this is it.
Republicans, Democrats, this deep state, this corruption involves them both. And more than you understand. What controls this country, what this deep state is. Let's think. Here's the definition of the deep state. A body of people influential in the government or the military, believed to be involved in manipulation. That's exactly what goes on. This deep state is twofold. Ready? One side, they sell protection. The other, they steal.
Now, Cindy Lou said she heard about the Free State, thought it was a great idea, a place where people could move and they didn't have to take the jab and so on. Yeah, I mean, lipstick on a pig. Lipstick on a pig. You know, you want things to look good from the outside. But these people are all embedded with each other, and it's all circled around corruption, and it's all circled around trafficking.
And rob from you.
And this isn't some, QAnon nonsense. Like, this isn't, we're only going to represent one political party and one's trying to do good and one's trying to do bad. It's not like that. It's everybody's involved.
And the people there protecting you are poisoning you through chemicals. The pharmaceutical companies are poisoning you with opioids. They need protection. You're going to see a post where it says, too big to prosecute. Opioids, McKesson can kill hundreds of thousands of you. Ready? No one goes to jail. No one went to jail when the financial collapse. No big banks. Nobody went to jail. Right? Pharmaceutical companies killing 100,000. Nobody goes to jail. Caused a recession, the worst of our lifetime. Nobody goes to jail. There's a movie now, Dark Waters, where they talk about DuPont, a chemical, putting chemicals in the water for 40 years in a town of 70,000 people, knowing it was killing you. But they're protected. Is the danger of deep state and what they do. Now, who's the deep state? Well, it's twofold. It's a partnership. I believe corruption is the biggest industry and most profitable industry in this country. Ready? Have you ever seen so many politicians getting rich? Remember, Biden, the son's in Ukraine. Ukraine's the laundering center. Listen, I'm ass deep in Russians. I know, and I've told you this many times. That's why President Trump's over there. He's looking for their money. Why? To leverage them. Now remember, I'm going to get back to that, but both sides are corrupt. So they're working and protecting these industries. And the other is federal stealing. From education, from family court, you wonder why they're taking children. They're getting paid right out of Social Security.
ties into exactly what I was talking about with the COVID orphans and how that's a profitable business for them, and it's a very, very lucrative trafficking system for them, using CPS, using foster care to traffic children. So he touches on a lot of things that I've spoken about, but his inner knowledge of James O'Keefe and New Hampshire is second to none.
The leading cause of death in this country now, our life expectancy is going down. You'll see a post from the LA Times because of suicides, drug addiction. You know what that is? This corruption takes. The last thing they take from you before your life is hope. That's what's wrong here. Those are the people I've met by the thousands. That's how I put this together. Be surprised how many times you say you want to help somebody. You'd be surprised how many people need help. All right. Now you understand how it all works. The Rembrandt I painted, and you'll see me visiting the FBI. You'll see me going to the DEA. I was giving them absolute evidence. You'll see here, and I'll post it. You will see an inventory list given to U.S. Attorney Lowen. If he sounds familiar, it's because he's the one prosecuting the exam scam. You know, Lori Laughlin, I believe her name is. Yeah, they'll put her in jail. Whether you think she'd go to jail or not, I can tell you this criminal shouldn't be the one doing it. And Special Agent Ventola, let's see what they did. Now, many of you said, oh, Mike, what are they not going to do anything? No. But I nailed them right back with a 91 Freedom of Information Act that tagged them with this evidence. So let's take a look briefly, and I'll have it posted. What evidence did I give him? By hand, U.S. Attorney Lowen. That little piece that says unknown, I put it under camera with a witness in his filthy little claws. Now let's see what he had. He had the IRS corruption. Remember? You'll see another a piece, and I'll put a video on it, or you can go to, where you hear the heads of the Treasury covered up in an investigation with the IRS that they were supposed to say was the worst corruption ever. You hear them on tape saying they have moles in my office, right? They're protecting themselves. So that IRS piece that U.S. Attorney Lowen has is those tapes, is that extortion. The mail fraud, you'll see those envelopes too. He owns that too, with an accountant, a brother of an a TITCA agent, the criminal division of the Treasury. Tom Morley, Curtis Morley. These guys aren't that bright. It's just that you generally don't have anybody to report it to. But there was the cover up there. Now Lowen has that. The U.S. Attorney prosecutes for the FBI. The Boston office is the biggest, largest, most powerful FBI office in the country. 5 states. 5 states. In fact, U.S. Attorney Durham investigated the Boston FBI for mob contacts. Right, you'll see that post. Guess what? They are the mob. You think?
Nah, I just really like straightforward showing you documents as he's going along. And when he comes on, I believe that he'll be coming on with, we can show these documents as we're doing the interview and just kind of roll through the story, more of a free-flowing conversation. But I want to get you acclimated to what's going on. This notion of James O'Keefe just taking some paid time off because he's such a bad employee, and then Project Veritas puts out a letter yesterday that, well, no, actually, he's not that bad. There's people here that support him. It's all a smokescreen to avoid talking about any of this.
The mafia, this is real organized crime at the highest level of our government. We live in a state of corruption. Okay? He owns.
Yeah, let's not get caught up on the free state thing. My point about the free state was we're in New Hampshire, and we're going to bring 20,000 libertarians to New Hampshire, and we're going to try to set them up in every level of government. That's what would be called a coup. That would be called taking over a state so you can run your trafficking operations unmolested and without any prying eyes on you. That's why I brought it up.
This is an inventory list. What else did he say? Extortion? Right. Morris Mahoney lawsuit. He has a $50 million settlement offer for Morris Mahoney. But you'll see on that offer, and I want you to remember this. You ready? I want you to remember these names. Bill Shaheen, Alex Walker, Wiggins and Norrie, the DRA, Department of Revenue, the banking department, the banking commissioner, and the IRS. Now, why do they all want to pay me $50 million? Now, I told them, I'm not giving anybody releases. You bastards are going to jail. You're killing people, right? They never expected someone to say no. And for
They didn't expect him to turn down $50 million, is basically what he's saying. He's like, I don't want the $50 million. I want your motherfuckers' heads on plates. I want you guys to actually go down for the crimes you're committing. I'm not taking the payout.
For those who are just meeting me for the first time, I was someone that was homeless and became the world champion at thoroughbred racing. I was someone that went to school to be a priest and built the largest, most powerful brokerage firm in the United States. You see? And nothing have I worked on and so committed is this. Because with that same insight that made that money, had me look into the gates of hell. And I seen what they were doing. What are they saying? Our life expectancy is down. We're dying younger because of suicide and drugs. This is what I was fighting. Now let's go on. Let's check this list. What I'm telling you is I'm nailing down the FBI. Extortion. Attempts on my life. 3. 2 on video. You'll see a post with 1. You can go to Kill Gill and hear the hitman never refused a contract. There's no doubt. You can ask the FBI. They won't deny it. In fact, they tried to cover it up. The people who were involved, the FBI was covering for. They don't want you to know, but they have the evidence. Remember Whitey Bulger? You call the FBI and say, hey, this guy's a drug dealer and that witness got killed. It's the same today, folks. Same with the DEA. Okay, let's take a look some more. Organized crimes, another attempted murder, right? Let's go down the list. Insurance fraud, mail fraud, right? They only set up an accountant I never met for 3 years, okay? So think about this. Look at the releases, all of which ones I've said. Now watch this, you ready? There was an investigation, paperwork that I just found. And it names all those people. You'll see Walker, my attorney. You'll see John Ross, Wiggins and Norrie, Divine Millimat again, right? Dallas Sedgwick, Ted Little, and again, Bill Shaheen. Maurice Gilbert from the DRA. So what I'm saying to you, this criminal thing that I'll post that you get to see, they caught them all. They were all here. Oh, wait, no, I just told you those names that they caught. I just told you those names that were on that settlement agreement. The investigation came, then the settlement agreement. All those names are on there. Now, you ready? And stay with me. Now, when I found that drug cartel, I put their faces on my signs across my businesses because the FBI wouldn't do anything, the DEA wouldn't do anything. You'll see a video of me delivering evidence to the DEA. They say the largest arrest in this country was 254 pounds. I'm going to show you a small clip that I go into the DEA, give them the evidence, tell them it was coming out of the hospitals, the pharmacies, the treatment centers, the pain clinic that the cartel all owned, right? Short time afterwards, you see a tractor trailer load of fentanyl in the several tons. Wait a minute, didn't they say 254 pounds was the most? We're talking several tons to kill everybody everywhere. New Hampshire, Consider this a funnel. And this is a distribution center across this country. They're guarding this one of the smallest states, enclose it with an airport, trucking, and these people. And it's the distribution center of this country. How do you think you got an 80,000 capacity tractor trailer full of fentanyl, where the biggest arrest in history was 254 pounds? It is a distribution center, and it is coming out of those hospitals. You see that Jack Riley, in another small clip.
A lot of information just spilled right there. But main point of it, you control this one just small area. This is just one of many state cartels that do this. He's specifically talking about the James O'Keefe, New Hampshire connection, along with many other what you would call an influencer nowadays. They all are involved in this. This is their network. So let me move on a little bit here. I just want to get you guys to be acclimated to the story before I have them on for an interview. It's a lot to take in one video. You know, you can't get to the bottom of everything in a couple hours. But I've really been trying to research the shit out of this. And of course, overdoses in New Hampshire are at record highs. That's just a coincidence, right? And the DEA is the one that has to tell you about it when they're the ones that are releasing these out into the streets.
I had heard about fentanyl. Rich and I both had heard about fentanyl over the years, but we didn't really know too much about it. We just knew it was bad.
But on an early spring day in April of 2020, fentanyl made its way into Andrea Cahill's Sandown home.
We were in shock. We didn't know what happened.
The night before, Andrea's son Tyler returned home after getting a tattoo. He went to his bedroom and took a Percocet to help ease the pain. Tyler died in his sleep. He was 19.
When I read the toxicology report, I screamed, dropped to my knees crying, like I was reliving his death all over again.
That report showed the Percocet Tyler thought he was taking was actually a fake pill, laced.
So when I had my episode, I took a Xanax and it was laced with fentanyl. But I didn't die, I just passed out.
With fentanyl, a drug similar to morphine that's 50 to 100 times.
Guess I'm just stronger than this kid.
It's more potent.
You know, your child comes home to your home and that's where you protect them and they're supposed to be safe. And somebody gave my son a lethal pill and took his life inside of our home.
Well,
no, I'm not big on the random drug dealer that, you know, he buys the pills, he doesn't really know, he sells them to somebody else, so that drug dealer should go to jail. We should be responsible for what we put in our own bodies, you know. Like, looking back on myself taking something like that, if I would have did 5 minutes and actually studied it and looked at it, you know, you could probably tell the difference between something laced and something not.
While the Cahill's family's story is tragic, unfortunately, it's not unique.
Peter was my best friend.
Shannon Nealon's brother Peter was a recovering addict and was an advocate and outreach worker for Hope for New Hampshire Recovery in Manchester, guiding others out of addiction. He was an
Yeah, and a lot of these rehab centers and a lot of these 12-step programs is where people go and get their drugs. So you got to be aware of that stuff too. Where are we at here? Damn, we already been going an hour? I'm really stoked that he's coming on for an interview.
Mike Gill has exposed the crime of the century with rock-solid, hard evidence. Huge drug and money laundering rings in New Hampshire involving all levels of government and private enterprise. The use of his information by the Trump campaign to gain political leverage, not protect children from predators and drugs, is unforgivable. I hope they've got some explaining ready to go. James O'Keefe and Project Veritas burying the case, and now he is running from what he and Project Veritas has done. The chickens are coming home to roost, and the usual suspects are completely silent on the issue. This is a 2022 video on James O'Keefe and IIA operations online.
Now, you'll hear Titus Frost, you'll hear myself, you'll hear Brendan use this term a lot. IIA agents, interactive internet activities. And this goes along with what I told you guys about the new breed of PSYOP influencers, where they come off as a conservative pundit or a liberal pundit, or in James O'Keefe case, this fake whistleblower who stages probably half of the things that he does, and people think he's doing something good when he's really just a plant for the U.S. government and the PSYOPs they're trying to run. So if you don't know the term IIA, just get used to that term. Interactive internet activities. You'll hear Titus Frost talk about this a lot.
Interactive internet activities, or online psychological warfare, as exposed by Patrick Berge and the great documentary Shadowgate by Millie Weaver and Gavin Wintz. These patriots.
Now, the Patrick Berge part of the documentary, he actually had real information. Millie Weaver and Tori says were using it to get clout and did not have actual information. I broke that all down years ago. Tori says stolen valor, the whole 9 yards.
Are currently.
So these IAAs are essential part of the Department of Defense responsibilities to provide information to the public, shape the security environment, and support military operations, and basically give you any line of propaganda that they need. The policy defines interactive internet activities as the use of system accessible via the internet, which allows for two-way communications, email, blogs, chat rooms, internet bulletin boards, in a timely, if not real-time basis, as opposed to a system in which information flows only one way. So they, ingratiate themselves online, but it's all, psychological operation agents.
Very silent as Mike Gill continues to suffer the loss of his family, vast fortune, dignity, and health and safety. We are one step closer to understanding the vile and greedy online controlled antics of those contrived private intelligence-run channels and fake heroes. It's time to recognize Mike Gill for the hero he is and say once and for all, these IIA crisis actors with their limited hangout shock reaction channels must tell the truth.
Now, I'm going to wait to the interview to talk about this exact thing. He did an interview with Patrick Howley of the Epoch Times. The Epoch Times is connected to Roger Stone, and this is when a lot of things start blowing up. But I want to speak to him personally about that, of what the reception from Patrick Howley was, and what happened from that interview.
They will reap an eventual whirlwind. Please enjoy this expose on IIA operations and James O'Keefe. Hola, Internet amigos. We'll be digging into the Kenosha Kid, James O'Keefe, and Patrick Berge.
Oh no, not Kyle Rittenhouse. Does he need $500K?
Department of Defense Information Operations Joint Publications 3-12.2 Psychological Operations dated the 7th of January 2010. It defines interactive internet activities as follows. A. Psychological operations and computer network operations. CNO supports PSYOP with dissemination assets to include interactive internet activities. CNO activities can deny or degrade an adversary's ability to access, report, and process information. This capability supports PSYOP by providing access to digital media within the information environment to reach intended targets. When you watch Alex Jones, when you watch David Icke, when you watch Nick Fuentes, when you watch Tucker Carlson, when you watch CNN, when you watch Joe Rogan, when you watch Timcast, IRL, when you watch any social media influencer of any status, always in your mind must be the concept of IIA operations. Limited release or limited hangout, controlled release, suppression, containment, redirection, misdirection of information into meaningless manufactured online issues, arguments and circular dead ends that exhaust and confuse. The aim? To never allow diverse, meaningful information to become direct, meaningful political power and movements at the grassroots level that have concrete effects in the public domain. You are in a contrived right versus left banker-funded dialectic. When you are exhausted, beaten, and crying out for certainty and freedom from fear and anxiety, the final solution will be offered you. End of introduction.
Perhaps you can understand.
Kyle Rittenhouse, James O'Keefe and Patrick Berge. Now, don't be too afraid. I'm not going to be that harsh, or maybe I will be to some, at least in appearance. I just want you to think a little bit about what you're willing to accept from larger, well-funded and well-produced online media stars like O'Keefe, and how the mainstream media accepted the gift of Rittenhouse and other pleasant distractions. And man, Rittenhouse was truly an organic gift.
Change the story, change the lead. It's not a new concept. Change the story, change the lead. It's not a new concept.
Of course, the mainstream and the big media channels weren't the only ones. I mean, the old media, they're in it as well. They always are, because they're exactly the same as the mainstream media. Apart from obscure, frequently deleted channels and sites. They're all controlled by the same NATO Marine psych warfare operation run out of a private data analytic company like Denology and ClearForce, to name just a few. These work in tandem with private security contractor teams playing crisis actor, LARPer and Johnny on the spot witness for critical events. There are vast pools of registered out-of-work actors and gophers recruited in the same vein as a criminal informant for police operations. Many, but not all of these people are literally registered pedophiles, drug dealers and users for the real dirty jobs. I mean, think story time and the disgusting story pushed by the mainstream media of how quickly we forgot that. And I still wonder where that kid is right now. This is all an expendable workforce, just as the East German Stasi recruited and maintained its rat lines, and I mean, most of them were literally rats, of street information and gang stalking teams. These are IIA operations, or Internet Interactive Activities, as said.
So yeah, I just wanted to give you guys that like little crash course in IIA, because some people here may not be too familiar with the term, but this is going to be very important going forward. I just look at some of the replies. It's hilarious. Alright, so it's locked in. The interview is locked in. Just got the confirmation. 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday. Mike Gill will be on the program to explain further all of this stuff. But I did want to give you an introduction to it.
Turns around, he was the head of the DEA, flies to New Hampshire, great day. And then he says, businessmen. What do you mean about businessman and how, and he's considering it ground zero. He's telling you that it's coming out of the pain clinics, hospice care, treatment centers, without giving any of them up. Right. Nobody went to jail. Nobody got arrested, but they wanted to take kudos for the biggest bust in history anywhere. Wasn't a bust, it went back on the streets. I have a witness, Lindsay, right, Lindsay? Now I can say Lindsay, because she sent me a text message.
The video that was talking about IAA was Brendan O'Connell that was narrating that.
It said the U.S. Marshals, when they find me, are going to hurt me real bad and take their time. Isn't that so? I'll post it. See, that's a message to me. Guess what? There's no warrants on me. I haven't broken any crimes. She has a recording. Her boyfriend was in the distribution working directly with the FBI. See, they seize it and have a network that goes out. Okay, now think about this. All the attachments on my property, here they are, and you'll see it. You ready? Wiggins and Norrie. Well, wait a minute. They were on the releases. They were on the criminal investigation. Walker, the same. The DRA, the same. The cartel was represented by Shaheen, who's on the investigation and the settlement offers, including my ex, who the cartel's been paying her bills these last few years, right, out of a hospice center. I have proof and witnesses. So, everybody in this investigation that shows of this extortion and corruption of the deep state, again, is on a settlement agreement for $50 million, and again, is on the attachments to my properties to get paid. Did you watch the movie Casino? Do you remember when the guys, De Niro, said they got 2 jackpots? Said, you know what the odds of that happening? It can't happen. That's the extortion. That's what happens when you say no to $50 million. They weren't going to take me to court. They were going to settle out of court, which is why they tried to kill me 3 times in 13 days. Isn't that so, FBI? You filthy bastards. You have all that information. You have those tapes, and you have the computer, and you've covered up all of it. Okay?
This is going to be a very interesting interview. I feel lucky to get it, and I think you guys are going to be you guys are going to win in the end to have a great, going to be a great interview. So, like I said, I wanted to lay that groundwork just to get you guys to know who Mike Gill is. Please go follow him on Twitter. Try to catch some of these videos. Brendan O'Connell's done too. This channel is called The State of Corruption New Hampshire. Mike Gill has a lot of videos on there. His Twitter account links to a lot of videos. So I would implore you to just do a little research. I'll do 90% of it, don't worry. But if you guys want to, really dig into this, I'll be asking a lot of questions, of course. But if you guys want to know more about this, just dig in a little bit. Just dig in a little bit. Watch that full video of him speaking. And you got to make up your mind at the end of the day if you think this guy, is telling the truth. I tend to believe what he's saying because he's showing document proof. He's putting it all out on record. He's doing interviews and giving copies of these of this paperwork of the settlement of $50 million. They tried to get him to shut up. The stories of them trying to kill him, he documents those as well. So, hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you guys got some information out of this. I hope you guys understand that James O'Keefe isn't just some fake whistleblower fraud. He's much more than that. Literally right now, the latest Twitter post, not from him, is from a Kennedy, from the famous Kennedy family, hanging out with James O'Keefe on vacation. So that's his paid time off right now, hanging out with one of the most powerful political families to ever exist. So the guy's very well connected, and you get well connected and you get to stay under the radar when you can blackmail people. And that's exactly what James O'Keefe has. He has blackmail information. So that's what I got for you guys for tonight. Appreciate you guys hanging out for a little bit. 52 people in the chat. Like I said, we're trying to get that to 100 by, what do we got right now? February 16th. By March 16th, I'd like to have 100 live viewers in the chat, and then grow from there. So, appreciate you guys hanging out. Appreciate anybody that threw a donation. It definitely helps with the research and just the time put in. But I'm going to stream regardless if a donation comes in or not, but it is very much appreciated. You can do so through Odysee or cash.app/$CroccoTruth. And most likely I'll see you guys tomorrow for a live stream about a totally different topic. And then, through the weekend. And then Tuesday at 5 p.m., we're going to have Mike Gill on himself to talk about this. So, love you guys. Decamp, again, thank you for the dono. Much appreciated. And as always, I will see you guys in the next one. Have a great night, guys.